7-year-old Chloe Thompson's voice shattered champagne glasses and Christmas carols as she burst into her father's lavish holiday party, her twin sister Zoe clutching a cracked iPhone like a grenade. "Stop everything!" Chloe screamed, her small frame trembling. "We found Mommy's phone, and there's a video that proves she did it." Every eye turned to their stepmother Serena, whose porcelain smile cracked like ice beneath a hammer. "Welcome back, my beautiful family. Before we begin, please click subscribe, like this video, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support helps us bring more thrilling stories, and trust me, you won't want to miss them. Now, let's get into the story. Chandeliers blazed overhead, casting diamond patterns across 200 guests in designer gowns and tailored suits. Robert Thompson's Connecticut estate had been transformed into a winter wonderland, white roses climbing marble columns, a 20-foot Christmas tree glittering with crystal ornaments, ice sculptures of angels positioned throughout the grand ballroom. But nobody was admiring the decorations anymore. Chloe stood at the top of the grand staircase in her pajamas, her dark curls wild, her brown eyes blazing with the kind of fury that made grown men step back. Beside her, Zoe held up the phone with steady hands, though her identical face showed the strain of what they'd discovered. Their father, Robert, a tall white man with graying temples and the kind of presence that commanded board rooms, pushed through the crowd, confusion etching lines around his eyes. "Girls, what are you doing out of bed? What's going on?" Serena Blackwood Thompson glided forward in her crimson designer gown, her blonde hair swept into an elegant chignon, her smile perfectly practiced. But Chloe saw what the guests couldn't, the terror flickering in those cold blue eyes. "Darlings," Serena cooed in that syrupy voice that made Chloe's skin crawl. "You're having nightmares again. Let's get you back upstairs. Don't touch us." Zoe's voice cracked but held firm. "We know what you did to our mother. But before we dive into the full story, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Has someone in your family ever hidden a dark secret? Drop your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories. Now, let's rewind 6 months to understand how these 7-year-old twins became detectives in their own home. 6 months earlier. June sunshine poured through floor-to-ceiling windows in Thompson Estate, illuminating a breakfast table that could seat 12 but held only 4. Chloe pushed scrambled eggs around her plate while Zoe stared at their mother's empty chair, her untouched orange juice growing warm. "She's not coming back," Robert said quietly, folding the newspaper he hadn't been reading. His eyes were red-rimmed, his usual crisp appearance disheveled. "Girls, I need you to understand, your mother made her choice." "That's a lie." Chloe slammed her small fist on the table, making crystal glasses jump. "Mommy would never leave us. Especially not without saying goodbye." Mary Thompson, a beautiful black woman with warm brown skin, intelligent eyes, and a laugh that could light up rooms, had supposedly walked out 6 months ago. Just vanished one Tuesday morning while the twins were at school. Left behind a note saying she needed to find herself and couldn't handle being a wife and mother anymore. But the twins knew better. Zoe, the quieter twin, the observer, had noticed things. "Daddy, Mommy's passport is still in your office drawer. I saw it last week when I was looking for tape. How did she leave the country like the note said if her passport is here?" Robert's face crumpled. "Maybe she got a new one. I don't know, sweetheart. I don't understand any of this either." Mrs. Jenkins, their housekeeper of 15 years, entered with fresh coffee. The older black woman with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair had practically raised the twins alongside Mary. She caught Zoe's eye and gave the tiniest shake of her head, a signal they'd developed over weeks of whispered conversations. Something was wrong. Mrs. Jenkins felt it too. Thompson Estate sprawled across 5 acres in Greenwich, Connecticut, one of the wealthiest zip codes in America. Robert had built his fortune in commercial real estate, turning a small inheritance into an empire worth hundreds of millions. 12 bedrooms, indoor pool, tennis courts, a garage full of luxury cars. But without Mary's warmth, the mansion felt like a museum. Chloe was the adventurous twin, the one who climbed trees, demanded answers, refused to sit still. Her teachers called her spirited, which was code for exhausting. She wore her emotions on her sleeve and trusted her gut absolutely. Zoe was her mirror opposite, thoughtful, analytical, the twin who hung back and watched. She noticed when someone's smile didn't reach their eyes, when a story didn't quite add up, when adults were lying. Her teachers called her remarkably perceptive, which was code for sees right through us. Together, they were formidable. "I'm trying my best here," Robert said, running his hands through his hair. "I know this is hard. It's hard for me too. But we have to move forward as a family." "We're not a family without Mommy," Chloe whispered. That's when everything changed. 2 weeks later, Robert came home with a woman. Serena Blackwood was stunning in that calculated way some women perfected: expensive highlights, tasteful Botox, designer clothes that screamed money without logos. She smiled at the twins with teeth too white to be real. "Oh my goodness, you two are absolutely precious." Serena knelt down, but not quite close enough to actually touch them. Her perfume was overwhelming, roses and something chemical underneath. "Your daddy has told me so much about you. I can't wait for us to become friends." Chloe crossed her arms. Zoe simply stared. "Girls, this is Serena," Robert said, his voice holding a warning. "We met at a charity auction. She's been helping me through a difficult time." "How long have you known Daddy?" Zoe asked, her voice perfectly polite and absolutely lethal. Serena's smile flickered. "Oh, about a month now. Time flies when you're having fun." "So 1 month after Mommy left, you started dating?" Chloe's voice could have cut glass. "Chloe, that's enough." Robert's tone was sharp. "Go to your room. Both of you." As they climbed the curved staircase, Chloe grabbed Zoe's hand and squeezed 3 times, their secret code for emergency twin meeting. They locked themselves in Chloe's bedroom, which overlooked the pool and had been Mary's design project, purple walls with hand-painted flowers, because Chloe had been obsessed with gardens. "I don't like her," Chloe announced. "Obviously," Zoe agreed. "But it's more than that. Did you see how she looked at the house? Not at Daddy, at the house. She was calculating something. And her story doesn't make sense. A charity auction? Daddy hasn't gone to any events since Mommy left. He told Mrs. Jenkins he couldn't face people yet." Zoe pulled out the small notebook she carried everywhere, a habit she'd picked up from Mary, who used to journal constantly. "We need to write everything down. Everything suspicious. Everything that doesn't add up." At the top of a fresh page, she wrote, "Things wrong about Serena Blackwood." They didn't know it yet, but that notebook would save their mother's life. Serena moved fast. Too fast. Within 3 weeks, she had a toothbrush in Robert's bathroom. Within 6 weeks, half her wardrobe occupied Mary's former closet, the one Robert hadn't been able to bring himself to clear out. By August, she was hosting dinner parties, redecorating rooms, and introducing Robert to her business associates at country club events he'd avoided for months. "She's erasing Mommy," Chloe said one night, watching through the banister as Serena directed workers removing Mary's favorite painting from the foyer, an abstract piece in blues and purples that Mary had commissioned from a local artist. Systematically, Zoe agreed, adding another entry to her notebook. They'd been documenting everything for 2 months now. The notebook had grown from observations to evidence. August 15th, Serena threw away Mommy's herb garden. Said it was overgrown, but Mommy always kept it perfect. Mrs. Jenkins saw her do it at night. August 22nd, Serena changed Daddy's passwords. He complained he couldn't access his own email. She said it was for security, but why would SHE know his new passwords? August 29th, overheard Serena on phone saying the timeline is perfect and he's completely convinced. Who was she talking to? Mrs. Jenkins had become their unofficial ally, though she was careful never to say anything directly disloyal to Robert. She'd worked for the Thompsons since before the twins were born, had helped Mary through difficult pregnancies, had been there for every birthday and skin knee and bedtime story. "Your mother loved you more than life itself," Mrs. Jenkins told them one afternoon while Serena was out getting her nails done. They sat in the kitchen, the one room Serena hadn't redecorated yet, sharing chocolate chip cookies Mrs. Jenkins had made from Mary's recipe. "Whatever happened, whatever anyone says, you remember that. Mary would walk through fire for you girls. Then why would she leave?" Chloe's voice was small, vulnerable in a way she rarely allowed. Mrs. Jenkins set down her coffee cup carefully. "I don't think she did. Not willingly." Zoe's head snapped up. "You think something happened to her?" "I think," Mrs. Jenkins said slowly, choosing her words with the precision of someone who knew walls had ears, "that your mother was afraid. The week before she disappeared, she came to me very upset. Said she'd discovered something about the company finances, something that didn't make sense. She was going to talk to your father about it that weekend." "What kind of something?" Zoe was already reaching for her notebook. "She didn't get the chance to tell me the details. But she did say she'd made copies of documents, hidden them somewhere safe. She said if anything ever happened to her, I should look in the place where the twins first said I love you." Chloe and Zoe exchanged glances. They'd been less than 2 years old when they'd first said those words. How were they supposed to remember where that happened? "Mrs. Jenkins," Zoe said carefully, "do you know where Mommy would have hidden something? In this house?" Before Mrs. Jenkins could answer, they heard the front door open. Serena's voice carried through the halls, artificially bright and cheerful. "I'm home. Where is everyone?" Mrs. Jenkins's expression shuddered immediately. "Finish your cookies, girls. And remember, be careful. Watch everything. Trust your instincts." As they fled upstairs, Chloe grabbed Zoe's arm. "The treehouse. What? Where we first said, I love you. It has to be. Mommy built that treehouse the summer before we turned 2. There's that photo in the album, us standing in it for the first time, and she's holding a sign that says, My heart lives here, with hearts drawn by us." Zoe's eyes widened. "That's why she never let Daddy rebuild it when it got old. She said it was perfect exactly as it was." The treehouse sat at the edge of the property, built into an ancient oak tree that predated the mansion by a century. Mary had designed it herself, a magical little structure with a peaked roof, window boxes that once held flowers, and a small deck with a railing. It had been the twins' favorite place until Mary disappeared. After that, they couldn't bear to go near it. "We have to search it," Zoe said. "Tonight." But Serena had other plans. That evening at dinner, she made her announcement. Robert sat at the head of the table looking tired and vaguely confused, as he increasingly did these days. Serena perched at his right hand, her smile predatory. "Girls, your father and I have some exciting news." She reached over and squeezed Robert's hand. He didn't squeeze back, Zoe noticed. "We've been talking about the future, about building a real family together. And we've decided, we're getting married." Chloe's fork clattered to her plate. "Married? But Mommy. Your mother is gone, sweetheart." Serena's voice dripped with false sympathy. "I know that's hard to accept, but your father needs to move on. He deserves happiness, doesn't he? Don't you want your daddy to be happy?" It was a trap, perfectly laid. Anything they said would make them sound selfish. "When?" Zoe asked quietly. "October 15th. Serena beamed. "Just a small ceremony at the club. Nothing ostentatious, we want to keep it respectful given the circumstances. And of course, you girls will be my junior bridesmaids." "I'd rather eat glass," Chloe muttered. "Chloe." Robert's voice was sharp, but there was something in his eyes, a flicker of uncertainty, of the father they used to know trying to break through whatever fog he was living in. Apologize to Serena right now. No. Chloe Thompson. It's okay, Robert. Serena placed a hand on his arm, her nails perfectly manicured in blood red. She's grieving. They both are. I understand. She turned to the twins with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. I know I can never replace your mother, girls. I'm not trying to. But I do want us to be a family. Can't we at least try? Zoe recognized the performance for what it was, a show for Robert, making Serena look reasonable and them look like difficult children. She kicked Chloe under the table before her sister could say something that would get them both grounded. We'll try, Zoe said, her voice flat. That night, they made their move. Waiting until the house fell silent, until Robert's snores echoed from the master bedroom and Serena's light finally went dark, the twins crept down the back staircase. They'd done this route 100 times, knew which steps creaked, where the motion sensors were positioned, how to avoid the security cameras. Mrs. Jenkins had left the kitchen door unlocked, as she always did. Bless her. The August night was humid, crickets singing in the darkness. The treehouse loomed against the starlit sky, looking more decrepit than magical now. Paint peeled from the walls, one window hung crooked, and the ladder felt rickety under their weight. I'll go first, Chloe whispered. I'm heavier, if it holds me, it'll hold you. They climbed carefully, testing each rung. Inside, the treehouse smelled of old wood and memories. Moonlight filtered through the crooked window, illuminating the space where they'd played princesses and pirates, where Mary used to bring them lemonade on summer afternoons. Where would she hide something? Zoe ran her flashlight over the walls, the floor, the small built-in bench. Chloe moved to the corner where Mary had painted a mural, a family of bears having a picnic. As she pressed against the wall, she felt something shift. Zoe. Here. The mural panel was loose. Behind it, carved into the tree itself, was a hollow space. And inside that space, a manila envelope sealed with packing tape. Oh my God, Zoe breathed. Chloe pulled it free with trembling hands. The envelope was thick, stuffed with papers. On the front, in Mary's distinctive handwriting, for my girls, if anything happens to me. I love you more than all the stars. Mommy. They stared at it, the weight of it suddenly terrifying. Whatever was inside this envelope, it was important enough that Mary had hidden it. Important enough that she'd been afraid. We have to open it, Chloe said. But before they could, a voice drifted up from below. Serena's voice, sharp and angry, speaking in a hushed tone that carried in the still night air. I don't care what you think, we're moving too slowly. The wedding is in 6 weeks. After that, I need the documents finalized. Yes, all of them. Life insurance, will, power of attorney, everything naming me as beneficiary. Then we proceed to phase 2. The twins froze. Serena was directly below the treehouse, hidden in the shadows. On her phone. And she hadn't realized they were above her. The brats are a problem, Serena continued. They're suspicious. I might need to accelerate the boarding school timeline. Get them out of the house before they cause real trouble. Switzerland has that excellent facility, very expensive, very remote. Once they're gone and Robert is indisposed, there'll be no one to contest anything. Zoe grabbed Chloe's hand so hard it hurt. Indisposed. The word hung in the air like poison. Marcus, I don't pay you to question me. You handle your end, I'll handle mine. Just make sure the accounts are set up to transfer the moment I give the word. And for God's sake, check on our guest. Make sure she's staying sedated. The last thing we need is her getting coherent enough to cause problems. Our guest. Sedated. The twins looked at each other in the moonlight, the same thought screaming through both their minds, Mommy. Serena's footsteps faded toward the house. They waited 10 full minutes before daring to move, barely breathing, clutching the envelope between them. "She's alive," Chloe whispered. "Mommy's alive. And Serena's going to kill Daddy," Zoe added, her voice shaking. "After the wedding. Phase 2 foot means killing him." They climbed down the treehouse in silence, their world fundamentally reordered. This wasn't just about proving their mother didn't abandon them anymore. This was about saving their father's life and finding their mother before it was too late. Back in Zoe's room, they locked the door and spread the contents of the envelope across her bed. Financial documents. Emails. Photographs. Bank statements showing transfers to offshore accounts. And a note in Mary's handwriting. "If you're reading this, something has happened to me. The woman calling herself Serena Blackwood is not who she claims. Her real name is Serena Hayes. She's done this before, married wealthy men, had them killed, inherited everything. Her brother Marcus handles the dirty work. They targeted your father 6 months ago at a business conference in Boston. I found proof of wire transfers, of falsified documents, of an insurance policy taken out on Robert's life without his knowledge. I confronted her. That was my mistake. I don't know what they'll do to me, but I know they'll come after your father next. I've made copies of everything, hidden them with my lawyer, Julian Preston, on High Ridge Road. If anything happens, go to him. Show him these documents. He knows to help you. My beautiful girls, I'm so sorry. I tried to protect you all. I tried to stop this. But if you're reading this, it means I failed. Don't let them win. Don't let them take your father too. All my love, forever and always, Mommy." The note was dated 3 days before Mary disappeared. She knew, Chloe said, tears streaming down her face. She knew what they were planning and she tried to stop them. Zoe was already thinking strategically, the way their mother had taught them. "We can't go to the police. We're 7 years old. They'll think we're making up stories because we don't like Serena. And if we tell Daddy, he won't believe us," Chloe finished. "He's under her spell somehow. Did you notice how tired he always is? How confused? She's drugging him," Zoe said with certainty. "Small doses. Enough to keep him compliant but not enough to be obvious. It's in his coffee. Did you notice she always makes it for him now? Mrs. Jenkins doesn't even touch the coffee maker anymore." They sat in silence, 2 7-year-old girls holding their mother's warning, knowing their father was in mortal danger, knowing their mother was being held somewhere against her will. "We have to find this lawyer," Zoe said finally. "Julian Preston. He'll have the rest of the evidence. He'll know what to do. And we have to find out where Serena's keeping Mommy," Chloe added. She said, "Our guest. Marcus is keeping her sedated somewhere. But first," Zoe said, her voice steady despite her fear, "we have to stop this wedding. Because the moment Serena becomes Mrs. Thompson legally, she can transfer assets, change documents, and kill Daddy without anyone questioning it." They had 6 weeks. 6 weeks to gather evidence, find their mother, expose Serena and Marcus, and save their father's life. The twins looked at each other in the dim light of Zoe's bedroom, holding hands the way they had since before they were born. They were 7 years old. They were children. They should have been worrying about 2nd grade and Halloween costumes. Instead, they were planning how to take down a murderer. "We need a plan," Zoe said, opening her notebook to a fresh page. "We need help," Chloe corrected. "Mrs. Jenkins is with us. But we need more. We need to be smart. Smarter than Serena thinks we are. We need to document everything, gather evidence, and when the time comes, we destroy her," Chloe finished. Zoe wrote 3 words at the top of the page, "Operation Save Mommy." The war had begun. Finding Julian Preston proved harder than expected. High Ridge Road had 17 law offices, and the twins couldn't exactly walk into each one asking questions. They were 7 years old with no transportation and a stepmother watching their every move. September arrived with cooler air and the start of second grade. Serena insisted on driving them to school herself now, cutting off their morning conversations with Mrs. Jenkins. She picked them up too, always early, always smiling that plastic smile at the other mothers. "How was school, darlings?" she'd ask, and they'd learn to give vague, pleasant answers that revealed nothing. The wedding was 5 weeks away. Robert grew more distant by the day, spending long hours in his office or sleeping. The fog around him had thickened into something impenetrable. "We need to get to that lawyer," Chloe whispered during recess, watching their classmates play kickball. "Mommy said he has copies of everything." "I have an idea," Zoe said. "But you're not going to like it." She was right. Chloe hated it. The plan required them to deliberately get in trouble at school, something that went against every fiber of Zoe's rule-following nature. But it was the only way to trigger a parent-teacher conference that would keep Serena occupied long enough for them to slip away. On Monday, Chloe accidentally spilled paint all over another student's art project. On Tuesday, Zoe talked back to their teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, earning a shocked gasp from the entire class. By Wednesday, they'd orchestrated a fight during lunch that resulted in both of them sitting in the principal's office. "I don't understand what's gotten into you two," Principal Hayes said, looking genuinely concerned. "You've always been model students. Is something going on at home?" The twins exchanged glances. They couldn't tell the truth, not yet, not without proof. But maybe they could plant seeds. "Our new stepmom," Chloe said carefully. "She's really strict. We're just stressed." It was enough. Principal Hayes called for a meeting with Serena the next day at 3 o'clock. When Serena arrived, perfectly coiffed and playing the concerned parent, Mrs. Jenkins was waiting in the parking lot with the twins. "Go," Mrs. Jenkins said, pressing car keys into Zoe's hand. "I'll tell her you went to the bathroom. You have maybe 20 minutes. They'd memorized the address, 847, High Ridge Road. Julian Preston, attorney at law. The office was in an old Victorian house converted to professional suites, with a brass plaque beside a dark green door. Chloe knocked. Once. Twice. A man in his 60s opened the door, silver hair, kind eyes, expensive suit. "Can I help you? Are you Julian Preston?" Zoe asked. "I am. And you are?" "Chloe and Zoe Thompson. Mary Thompson's daughters." The man's face went pale. He looked up and down the street, then quickly ushered them inside. His office smelled like old books and coffee. Photos of his family lined the walls. "Does anyone know you're here?" he asked urgently. "Just Mrs. Jenkins. Our housekeeper." "How much do you know?" "Everything," Chloe said. "We found Mommy's letter. We know about Serena Hayes and her brother Marcus. We know what they're planning to do to our father." Julian Preston sank into his chair. "Your mother came to me 6 months ago. She discovered evidence of financial fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit murder. She asked me to hold copies of everything in case something happened to her. I urged her to go to the police immediately, but she wanted to gather more evidence first. She wanted it to be airtight. And then she disappeared," Zoe finished. "I reported it. The police investigated, found the goodbye note, ruled it a voluntary disappearance. I insisted something was wrong, but without a body, without evidence of foul play." He spread his hands helplessly. "I've been watching Robert, waiting for Serena to make her move. The wedding is in 4 weeks. We know where Mommy is," Chloe blurted. "We think." Serena told her brother to keep their guest sedated. Who else could it be? Julian's jaw tightened. "I need you to listen carefully. What you're doing is incredibly dangerous. If Serena suspects you know anything, She already wants to send us to boarding school in Switzerland, Zoe said. We overheard her. She's moving up the timeline because we're suspicious. Then we have to move faster. Julian pulled out a thick file. Your mother gave me everything. Bank records, emails, documentation of Serena's previous marriages. This woman has done this 3 times before. 3 dead husbands, 3 inheritances. Marcus handles the murders, makes them look like accidents, heart attacks, suicides. Can you help us stop the wedding? Chloe asked. Not without proof your mother is alive and being held against her will. The evidence of financial fraud isn't enough to stop a marriage, and without your mother to testify, it's all circumstantial. Zoe felt panic rising. So what do we do? We find your mother, Julian said grimly. Before the wedding. Because once Serena becomes Mrs. Robert Thompson legally, she'll have access to everything. And your father won't survive the honeymoon. He pulled out a map. Marcus Hayes owns 3 properties in Connecticut. I've been monitoring them, but I can't legally enter without cause. One is his apartment in Stamford. One is a storage facility. The third is interesting, a house he inherited from their grandmother in Ridgefield. It's remote, secluded, perfect for hiding someone. That's where she is, both twins said simultaneously. Probably. But proving it requires getting inside, and I can't. We can, Chloe interrupted. We're kids. We can go trick-or-treating. Halloween is in 3 weeks. Julian stared at them. You're 7 years old. And our mommy is dying in that house, Zoe said fiercely. Every day they keep her sedated is another day of brain damage, of permanent harm. We don't have time to wait for adults to figure out the legal way to save her. For a long moment, Julian Preston looked at these 2 small girls with their mother's determination burning in their eyes. Then he nodded slowly. Halloween is October 31st. The wedding is October 15th. If we're going to do this, we do it before the wedding. We find your mother, we get her somewhere safe, we expose Serena before she becomes untouchable. Will you help us? Chloe asked. Your mother was my friend, Julian said quietly. She trusted me to protect her family if anything happened. So yes. I'll help you. But we do this carefully, intelligently, and safely. Agreed? The twins nodded. Outside, Mrs. Jenkins was calling their phones frantically. Serena had finished the meeting early. They had 3 weeks to find their mother and expose a killer. The clock was ticking. Serena's suspicions were growing. The twins could feel her watching them, calculating, reassessing her timeline. At dinner 3 nights after their meeting with Julian Preston, she made her move. Robert, darling, I've been thinking about the girl's education. She dabbed her mouth with a linen napkin, her movements precise and deliberate. Fairmont Academy in Geneva has an opening for their spring semester. It's one of the most prestigious boarding schools in Europe. Robert looked up from his barely touched meal, confusion clouding his features. Boarding school. They're only 7. Nearly 8, Serena corrected smoothly. And exceptionally bright. Fairmont specializes in gifted children. Small classes, individual attention, exposure to multiple languages and cultures. It would be an incredible opportunity. It's also 9 months of the year, Chloe said, her voice sharp. You want to send us away for 9 months? I want what's best for you, Serena replied, her smile never wavering. Your father and I will be newlyweds. We need time to establish our marriage, to build our family foundation. When you come home for summers, we'll be stronger, more unified. More dead, you mean, Chloe muttered under her breath. What was that? Serena's eyes narrowed. Nothing. Robert rubbed his temples. He'd been getting headaches lately, complaining of fatigue, difficulty concentrating. The drugging was intensifying. I don't know, Serena. Sending them away seems extreme. Think about it, Serena pressed, placing her hand over his. They're struggling with the transition. Acting out at school, causing trouble. A fresh start might be exactly what they need. And Geneva is beautiful. We could visit at Christmas. If we're still alive by Christmas, Zoe thought darkly. Let's discuss it after the wedding, Robert said finally, and Serena's smile sharpened with satisfaction. Later that night, Chloe paced Zoe's room like a caged animal. She's moving faster. Did you see how she looked at us during dinner? She knows we're a threat. Which means we have less time than we thought, Zoe said, studying the notes spread across her desk. The wedding is October 15th. That's 12 days away. Halloween is too late, we have to find Mommy before Serena becomes legally married to Daddy. Julian said the house in Ridgefield is our best bet, Chloe said. But we can't just walk up and knock on the door. Marcus probably has security cameras, alarms. Zoe pulled up a map on her tablet, another gift from Mary that Serena hadn't managed to confiscate yet. The property is on 3 acres. Woods on 2 sides, road access on the 3rd. If we could get close enough to see inside, verify Mommy's there. Then what? We call the police. They didn't believe anything was wrong 6 months ago. They won't believe 2 kids. Julian will believe us. If we have proof, photos, video, something concrete, he can get the authorities involved. A wellness check at minimum. We need Mrs. Jenkins, Chloe decided. She can drive us. But Mrs. Jenkins had her own concerns. When they approached her the next morning, her face was grave. Girls, I need to tell you something. Serena gave me notice yesterday. She's letting me go after the wedding. What? Both twins spoke in unison. She says she wants to handle the household herself, bring in her own staff. She's giving me a generous severance package. Mrs. Jenkins's voice was bitter. Generous enough to make me go away quietly and not cause trouble. She's erasing everyone who knew Mommy, Zoe said. Everyone who might question what happened. That's why we have to move now, Mrs. Jenkins said firmly. Before the wedding. Before I'm gone and you two are shipped off to Switzerland and your father is, she couldn't finish the sentence. They made their plan in whispers over the next 2 days. Saturday, October 10th, 5 days before the wedding. Serena had a full day planned, dress fitting at 11, hair trial at 2, flowers consultation at 4. She'd be gone for hours. I'll call in sick, Mrs. Jenkins said. Tell her I have the flu so she doesn't expect me at the house. Then I'll pick you girls up from the side gate at noon. What about the security cameras? Chloe asked. Your father had them installed after your mother disappeared. But I know the system, your mother showed me how to access it. I can loop the footage for an hour. It'll look like you're in your rooms the whole time. The Ridgefield house was 40 minutes away. Julian Preston had given them detailed information, 2847, Woodland Drive, registered to Marcus Hayes, utilities active, property taxes paid. Neighbors reported seeing a man coming and going, sometimes with grocery deliveries, but no one else. If she's there, Zoe said, she's being kept in a back room. Away from windows, away from anyone who might hear her. So we look for signs, Chloe said. Extra locks on doors, covered windows, anything unusual. Saturday morning arrived with October sunshine and the twins' determination sharpened to a blade's edge. Serena left at 10:30 in her Mercedes, air-kissing Robert goodbye and reminding the twins to be good for Mrs. Jenkins. The moment her car disappeared down the driveway, they sprang into action. Mrs. Jenkins had already looped the security footage. The twins changed into dark clothes, grabbed their phones, and slipped out the side gate where Mrs. Jenkins waited in her aging Honda. Are we really doing this? Mrs. Jenkins asked, her hands tight on the steering wheel. We're really doing this, both twins confirmed. The drive to Ridgefield felt endless and too short simultaneously. Woodland Drive was exactly as Julian described, isolated, heavily wooded, houses spread far apart. Number 2847 sat at the end of a long gravel driveway, partially hidden by overgrown trees. They parked 2 houses down, obscured by a bend in the road. "Stay in the car," Mrs. Jenkins said. "I'll go look." "No," Chloe said firmly. "We all go. We're faster together, and if something goes wrong, we need to be able to run." The house was a modest ranch style, probably built in the 70s. Beige siding, brown shutters, utterly unremarkable. But as they crept closer through the trees, Zoe spotted the details: new locks on the doors, blackout curtains in the windows, a security camera above the garage. "Someone's home," Mrs. Jenkins whispered, pointing to a car in the driveway, a black SUV registered to Marcus Hayes. They circled to the back of the house, staying low, moving quietly. Through a gap in the curtains of what looked like a kitchen, they saw him, Marcus Hayes, a man in his 40s with Serena's cold eyes and calculating expression. He was preparing a syringe. And then they saw her. Through another window, in what must have been a bedroom, lying on a hospital bed with restraints on her wrists, Mary Thompson, their mother, alive but unconscious, and 4 in her arm. Chloe's gasp was barely audible, but Zoe clapped a hand over her sister's mouth. They had found her. After 6 months of searching, of hoping, of refusing to believe she'd abandoned them, there she was. "Take pictures," Mrs. Jenkins whispered urgently. "Take as many as you can." The twins raised their phones with shaking hands and captured everything: their mother's face, the restraints, Marcus preparing the injection, the medical equipment, the locks on the bedroom door. Evidence. Finally, undeniable evidence. Marcus moved toward the bedroom, syringe in hand. "We have to stop him," Chloe hissed. "If he gives her more drugs." But Mrs. Jenkins was already dialing 911, her voice low and urgent. "I need to report a woman being held against her will. 2847, Woodland Drive, Ridgefield. She's restrained, being forcibly medicated. Please hurry." Then they ran. Police sirens shattered the October quiet within minutes. Mrs. Jenkins had driven them back toward the main road, parking where they could watch without being obvious. 3 patrol cars screamed past, followed by an ambulance. "They're really coming," Chloe breathed, gripping Zoe's hand. "Of course they are," Mrs. Jenkins said, though her own hands trembled on the steering wheel. "We have photos, we made a credible report, and there's a woman being held prisoner in that house." But nothing was ever that simple. 40 minutes later, Julian Preston called Zoe's phone. His voice was tight with frustration. The police went to the house. Marcus claimed Mary was there voluntarily, under psychiatric care. He had paperwork, commitment documents signed by Robert Thompson, medical orders, everything official looking. But Daddy didn't sign anything. Chloe shouted into the phone. "I know that. You know that. But the documents look legitimate, and Marcus is claiming Robert committed his wife to private care after she had a mental breakdown. The police can't just remove her without a court order, and getting that takes time." "We don't have time," Zoe said desperately. "The wedding is in 5 days. Once Serena marries Daddy legally, she'll have access to everything. She could move Mommy somewhere we'll never find her, or worse." "I'm working on it," Julian promised. "I've contacted a judge I trust, explaining the situation. We need Robert to revoke any power of attorney or medical decision-making authority he might have unknowingly given Serena. Can you check his office? Look for any documents he's signed recently." They returned home to find chaos. Serena's Mercedes sat in the driveway, hours earlier than expected. Through the windows, they could see her pacing, phone pressed to her ear, her face twisted with rage. "She knows," Mrs. Jenkins whispered. "Marcus must have called her. Girls, you need to be very, very careful." Inside, Serena was waiting. Her composure had cracked, revealing something cold and calculating beneath. "Where have you been?" "We went to the park," Chloe lied smoothly. "Mrs. Jenkins took us for ice cream." "Really?" "Because I've been trying to call Mrs. Jenkins for an hour and she didn't answer. And the security cameras show you leaving through the side gate at noon." Serena's smile was poisonous. "Want to try again?" Robert appeared from his study, looking more alert than he had in weeks. "What's going on?" "Your daughters," Serena said, her voice dripping venom, "have been causing trouble. Breaking rules, sneaking around, and now I discover they've been filling Mrs. Jenkins's head with ridiculous stories about me." "What kind of stories?" Robert asked. This was it. Their moment. Zoe pulled out her phone. "Daddy, we need to show you something. It's about Mommy." "Your mother left," Robert said, but his voice lacked conviction. "No, she didn't." Chloe stepped forward. "Serena's brother Marcus has been keeping her prisoner. We found her, Daddy. We found Mommy, and we have proof." Serena moved fast, lunging for the phone, but Mrs. Jenkins stepped between them. "Don't you dare." "Robert, your daughters are clearly disturbed," Serena said, her voice shaking now. "They need professional help. I've been trying to tell you." "Show me," Robert said quietly, looking at the twins. "Show me what you found." Zoe pulled up the photos. Robert's face drained of color as he saw them: Mary, restrained, unconscious, imprisoned. His wife, the woman he'd believed abandoned him, being held captive less than an hour away. This can't be real," he whispered. "It's real," Zoe said. "And there's more. We found Mommy's letters, her evidence about Serena. Her real name is Serena Hayes, and she's done this before. Married wealthy men, had them killed, inherited everything. Marcus is her brother, he's the one who handles the murders." "You lying little," Serena started forward, but Robert held up his hand. "Is this true?" he asked, and for the first time in months, his voice was clear, sharp, the businessman who'd built an empire. "Of course not. Robert, darling, they're making this up because they don't want us to be happy. Children do this, they create fantasies." "Then explain the photos," Robert said quietly. "Explain why my wife is in a hospital bed with restraints on her wrists." Serena's mask finally shattered completely. "You stupid man. You were so easy to manipulate, so desperate for comfort after I had Marcus drug her coffee that morning and drag her away. You signed everything I put in front of you, changed all your passwords to ones I chose, gave me access to accounts worth hundreds of millions. In 5 days, I become your wife legally, and 6 months after that, you'll have a tragic accident. Your girls will be safely tucked away in Switzerland where they can't cause problems, and Mary will spend the rest of her pathetic life sedated in a psychiatric hospital under a false name." The silence that followed was deafening. "You just confessed," Julian Preston said, stepping into the foyer. Behind him stood 2 police officers, including Detective Rebecca Wilson, who'd been recording everything on her phone. "We heard every word, Mrs. Hayes." Serena's face went through a rapid series of expressions: shock, rage, calculation, and finally cold acceptance. "You can't prove anything. It's my word against theirs." "Actually," Detective Wilson said, moving forward with handcuffs, "we have the photos these brave girls took, we have officers currently detaining your brother at the Ridgefield house, we have Mary Thompson being transported to Greenwich Hospital as we speak, and we have your full confession on video. Serena Hayes, you're under arrest for kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and a list of other charges that's going to take me an hour to read." As they cuffed her, Serena looked at the twins with pure hatred. "You should have minded your own business, you little brats." "That was our mommy," Chloe said fiercely. "It was always our business." Robert stood frozen, watching his fiancée being led away in handcuffs, the past 6 months of his life reordering itself into a nightmare of manipulation and lies. "The coffee," he said suddenly. I've been so tired, so confused. She was drugging me too. We know, Daddy, Zoe said, taking his hand. We figured it out. That's why we had to be detectives. Nobody else would have believed us. You saved my life, Robert whispered, pulling both twins into his arms. You saved all our lives. We saved Mommy, Chloe corrected. Now we need to go see her. Retry. Greenwich Hospital's fluorescent lights made everything look harsh and clinical. Robert held the twins' hands as they walked through corridors that smelled of antiseptic and fear, Detective Wilson leading the way. Julian Preston followed close behind, having already begun the legal process of voiding every document Serena had manipulated Robert into signing. She's sedated but stable, the doctor told them outside room 347. Dr. Patricia Chen was a small woman with kind eyes and a firm manner. 6 months of forced medication has taken a toll. Her system is full of benzodiazepines, antipsychotics, drugs designed to keep her compliant and confused. We're starting detox protocols, but it will take time for her to be fully coherent. Can we see her? Chloe asked, her voice smaller than it had been all day. Of course. Just remember, she may not recognize you right away. The drugs affect memory, cognition. Be patient with her. Nothing could have prepared them. Mary lay in the hospital bed looking fragile in a way she never had before. She'd always been strong, vibrant, full of life. Now she seemed diminished, her beautiful dark skin pale and drawn, her curls matted, her body too thin. And 4 fed fluids into her arm while monitors beeped softly, tracking her recovery. Mary, Robert whispered, approaching the bed like a man in a dream. Oh God, Mary, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't know, didn't realize. Her eyes fluttered open. Confused at first, unfocused, then slowly clearing as she saw him. Robert? Her voice was hoarse from disuse. Is this real? Am I dreaming again? It's real, baby. You're safe. You're in Greenwich Hospital. You're safe now. Mary's eyes found the twins standing at the foot of the bed, holding each other's hands so tightly their knuckles had gone white. Something shifted in her expression, confusion giving way to wonder, then to tears. My girls, she breathed. My beautiful girls. You got so big. I missed so much. Chloe and Zoe climbed onto the bed carefully, nestling against their mother the way they had when they were smaller. Mary wrapped her arms around them, crying, and for the first time in 6 months, the twins felt completely safe. We knew you didn't leave us, Chloe said fiercely. We knew it the whole time. We found your letters, Zoe added. In the treehouse. We found everything, Mommy. We figured it out. Mary looked at Robert over their heads. Serena. Arrested. Her brother too. It's over. The wedding. Cancelled. Obviously. Robert's laugh was broken, edged with hysteria. I was going to marry the woman who kidnapped my wife. I was so blind, so stupid. You were drugged, Mary said firmly, though her words were still slightly slurred. She drugged you, manipulated you, isolated you from anyone who might have seen through her. This wasn't your fault. Dr. Chen cleared her throat gently. I need to run more tests, and Mrs. Thompson needs rest. You can come back in a few hours. No, Mary said, tightening her hold on the twins. Please. I haven't held my daughters in 6 months. Just a little longer. The doctor's expression softened. 20 minutes. Then they can come back after dinner. Those 20 minutes felt both infinite and too brief. Mary asked about school, about their friends, about Mrs. Jenkins. The twins told her everything, finding the envelope, discovering Serena's real identity, tracking down Julian Preston, the treehouse conversations they'd overheard. You were so brave, Mary kept saying. So smart and so brave. I'm so proud of you. We learned from you, Zoe said. You taught us to ask questions, to trust our instincts, to never give up on people we love. When their time was up, Robert promised to bring them back that evening with Mrs. Jenkins, who was currently giving her statement to police. As they left, Mary called out one more time. Girls. Thank you. Thank you for believing in me when everyone else thought I'd abandoned you. Thank you for saving our family. In the hospital cafeteria, Julian Preston bought them all terrible coffee and surprisingly good sandwiches. Robert looked 10 years older than he had that morning, the weight of the past 6 months crashing down on him now that the immediate crisis had passed. What happens now? He asked. Legally, I mean. To Serena and Marcus. They're looking at significant prison time, Julian said. Kidnapping, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, forgery. And Detective Wilson mentioned something about investigating Serena's previous marriages. If they can prove she murdered her other husbands. She'll never get out, Robert finished. Daddy, Chloe said carefully, how much money did she steal? Robert's laugh was bitter. Millions. She transferred funds to offshore accounts, took out loans using forged signatures, changed beneficiaries on insurance policies. My accountant called this morning, the damage is extensive. But we can fix it, Zoe said. We have Mommy back. That's worth more than any amount of money. Robert pulled them both close. You're absolutely right. Your mother is alive, you two are safe, and I'm finally thinking clearly for the first time in months. Everything else, we can rebuild. That evening, they returned to find Mary sitting up, looking more alert. The doctors had continued the detox process, and while she was still weak, her eyes were clearer, her voice stronger. Mrs. Jenkins wept when she saw her, and the two women held each other for a long moment. I tried to protect them, Mrs. Jenkins said. I tried to help them find you. You did, Mary assured her. You kept them safe when I couldn't. Thank you. Over the next hour, they pieced together Mary's 6 months of captivity. She'd confronted Serena that Tuesday morning in March, threatening to expose everything. Marcus had been waiting in the garage, he'd drugged her coffee, and she'd woken up restrained in the Ridgefield house. They kept me sedated most of the time, Mary explained, her voice shaking. Just conscious enough to eat, to use the bathroom, but never clear-headed enough to escape or call for help. Marcus would show me fake news articles about how you'd moved on, Robert. How you were engaged. How the girls were thriving without me. He said if I tried anything, he'd hurt you all. But you made a plan anyway, Zoe said. You left us clues. I had brief moments of clarity when the drugs wore off too quickly. I'd hidden those documents weeks before they took me, when I first discovered what they were planning. I hoped. I prayed you'd find them. That someone would believe me. Mary wiped her eyes. I never imagined it would be my 7-year-old daughters who'd save us all. Detective Wilson arrived with updates. Marcus Hayes was cooperating, giving statements about previous crimes in exchange for a reduced sentence. Serena remained defiant, but the evidence against her was overwhelming. We're also investigating 2 previous deaths, Wilson said. Husbands who died in suspicious circumstances. Your evidence, Mrs. Thompson, has opened up cold cases in 3 states. As the evening wore on, the twins curled up on either side of their mother, and for the first time in half a year, they felt their family beginning to knit back together. The road ahead would be long: recovery, therapy, legal proceedings, rebuilding trust and security. But they were together. That was what mattered. What's the first thing you want to do when you come home? Chloe asked her mother. Mary smiled, running her fingers through her daughter's curls. Burn that coffee maker Serena bought. Then maybe we plant a new herb garden. Make chocolate chip cookies with Mrs. Jenkins. Read bedtime stories. All the normal, beautiful, boring things I missed so much. That sounds perfect, Zoe agreed. Outside the hospital windows, October darkness had fallen. Somewhere in that darkness, Serena Hayes sat in a jail cell, her carefully constructed plans destroyed by two 7-year-old girls who refused to stop believing in their mother. Justice, it turned out, sometimes came in very small packages. Mary came home 3 weeks later on a crisp November morning. The doctors had wanted to keep her longer, but she'd insisted. "I've been away from my family long enough," she told Dr. Chen firmly. "I need to be home." Thompson estate looked different now. Robert had spent those 3 weeks purging every trace of Serena's presence, furniture she'd chosen, decorations she'd selected, even paint colors she'd insisted on. The house was being restored to what it had been before, room by room. Mrs. Jenkins had made Mary's favorite meal, roasted chicken, garlic mashed potatoes, green beans from the farmer's market. The kitchen smelled like home again, like family, like everything they'd almost lost. "It's really over," Mary said softly, standing in the foyer where 6 months ago she'd been dragged away unconscious. Robert stood beside her, his arm around her waist, holding her like he was afraid she might disappear again. "It's really over," he confirmed. "Serena and Marcus are both in custody. The lawyers are working on recovering the stolen funds. And we're together." The twins had been practically glued to their mother's side since her release. They'd moved their sleeping bags into her bedroom that first night, unwilling to let her out of their sight. Mary had protested weakly but ultimately allowed it, understanding they needed to know she was real, that she wouldn't vanish in the night. School had been interesting. The story had made local news, local children rescue kidnapped mother, and the twins had become minor celebrities. Their classmates treated them like heroes, and their teacher, Mrs. Rodriguez, had given them a private apology for not recognizing the signs that something was deeply wrong at home. "Sometimes adults fail to see what's right in front of us," she'd said. "You two are remarkable. Your mother raised you well. But not everything was easy." Mary had nightmares, waking up screaming about restraints and needles and Marcus's cold voice telling her she'd never escape. The doctors had warned them about PTSD, about the long road to recovery from prolonged trauma and forced sedation. Robert had his own demons. The guilt of not recognizing Serena's manipulation ate at him constantly. "I should have known," he'd say. "I should have protected you." She was a professional con artist, Julian Preston had reminded him during one of their many meetings. She'd done this before, perfected her technique. "The drugging made it impossible for you to think clearly. You can't blame yourself for being a victim." The legal proceedings were complex. Serena faced charges in Connecticut, but Detective Wilson's investigation had uncovered a trail of crimes across multiple states. 2 previous husbands had died under suspicious circumstances, one in a boating accident, another from an apparent heart attack. Both had been wealthy. Both had changed their wills shortly before death, naming Serena as primary beneficiary. "We're building a federal case," Wilson explained during one of her visits. "Conspiracy, fraud, attempted murder, and we're pursuing murder charges for the 2 previous deaths. Marcus is cooperating fully, giving us detailed testimony about how they operated." "Why is he talking?" Zoe asked. She'd become fascinated by the legal process, attending every meeting Julian would allow. "Because his sister threw him under the bus," Wilson said. "Claimed he acted alone, that she was just an innocent woman who fell in love with wealthy men. Marcus got angry, started telling us everything. Turned out Serena planned to kill him too eventually, tie up loose ends." "There's no honor among thieves," Chloe observed, earning a smile from the detective. The twins had also become internet sensations. Someone had leaked parts of their story online, and suddenly they were receiving messages from around the world, people praising their courage, sharing their own stories of family mysteries, asking for advice. "We should start a channel," Chloe said one evening as they scrolled through messages. "Help other people solve family mysteries." "The Twin Detectives," Zoe suggested, and the name stuck. Mary was hesitant at first. "You're 7 years old. You should be playing with dolls, not investigating crimes. We're almost 8, Chloe corrected. Our birthday is December 24th. And we're good at this, Mommy. We saved you. Plus, Zoe added, other kids are writing to us. Kids who know something's wrong in their families but adults won't listen. We could help them. Robert and Mary discussed it privately, weighing safety concerns against their daughter's obvious passion and talent. Finally, they agreed, with strict conditions. The channel would be monitored, personal information protected, and they'd only take cases appropriate for children to investigate. The first video went live 2 weeks before Christmas, How We Found Our Missing Mom, the full story. The twins sat side by side, taking turns narrating their journey from suspicion to discovery to rescue. They showed their notebook of evidence, explained their investigative techniques, and emphasized the importance of trusting your instincts while staying safe. Within 24 hours, the video had 1 million views. Messages poured in. Some were supportive. Others shared similar stories, children who knew something was wrong at home, who sensed lies beneath polished surfaces, who needed help figuring out the truth. One message stood out. A 13-year-old girl named Rebecca from Oregon wrote, "My stepdad says my mom abandoned us 3 years ago, but her parents haven't heard from her either. They keep asking to see her, and he makes excuses. I found her phone in his desk drawer last week. What should I do?" The twins looked at each other, the same thought passing between them wordlessly. This was bigger than they'd imagined. There were more Serenas out there, more Marcuzas, more families being destroyed by lies. "We help her," Chloe said firmly. "We help all of them," Zoe agreed. They brought Rebecca's case to Detective Wilson, who took it seriously. Within a week, Oregon police had opened an investigation into Rebecca's stepfather. The case was ongoing, but Rebecca's mother's phone records showed no activity since her disappearance, despite her husband's claims she'd moved to another state. Mary watched her daughters with a mixture of pride and concern. They'd grown up too fast, seen too much darkness for children their age. But they'd also discovered purpose, a way to transform their trauma into something meaningful. "They're going to change lives," Mrs. Jenkins observed one afternoon, watching the twins film another video about recognizing warning signs in family situations. "They already have," Mary replied. As Christmas approached, the Thompson family prepared for their first holiday together in nearly a year. Robert insisted on going overboard, a tree that touched the ceiling, lights on every surface, presents piled high. But what mattered most was the 4 of them together, safe, healing. On December 22nd, Serena and Marcus Hayes both entered guilty pleas as part of separate agreements. Serena would serve 30 years minimum. Marcus, in exchange for his testimony, would serve 15. Additional charges were pending from other states. "It's done," Julian told them over the phone. "They can't hurt you anymore." The twins' birthday fell on Christmas Eve, as it always had. This year, though, it felt different. They were turning 8, but they felt older, wiser, marked by experiences no child should have to endure. Mary made their favorite cake, chocolate with raspberry filling, and the family gathered in the kitchen where so many of their secret planning sessions had occurred. Mrs. Jenkins had stayed for the celebration, officially rehired with a substantial raise and a promise that she'd never be forced out again. "Make a wish," Robert said as the twins bent over 8 candles. But they didn't need to wish. They had everything they'd fought for, their mother alive and getting stronger every day, their father clear-eyed and present, their family whole again. "What do you wish for when you already got your miracle?" Chloe asked. "You wish to help others get theirs," Mary said softly, pulling them close. Outside, snow began to fall, blanketing Greenwich in white. Inside Thompson Estate, a family that had been shattered was learning to be whole again. The road ahead would have its challenges, therapy, legal proceedings that would last years, the ongoing work of rebuilding trust and security. But they were together. They had survived. And 2 7-year-old girls, almost 8 now, had proven that courage came in all sizes, that love could overcome manipulation, and that sometimes the smallest voices could speak the loudest truths. The Twin Detectives channel would grow, helping dozens of families over the coming years. But tonight was just for them, for celebrating life, love, and the strength that comes from refusing to give up on the people who matter most. To family, Robert raised his glass of sparkling cider. To truth, Julian added, having joined them for the celebration. To never giving up, Mrs. Jenkins said. To Mommy, the twins said in unison. Mary's eyes filled with tears as she looked around at these people who'd fought so hard to bring her home. To second chances, she whispered. And to my brilliant, brave, beautiful daughters who made this possible. They clinked glasses as snow continued to fall outside, and for the first time in a very long time, everything felt exactly as it should be. Christmas morning arrived with the kind of pristine snowfall that made Connecticut look like a postcard. The twins woke early, as they always did, but this year they didn't race downstairs to presents. Instead, they stayed curled up with their mother, watching her sleep peacefully for the first time in months without nightmares interrupting. She looks like herself again, Zoe whispered. Chloe nodded. The scared look in her eyes is finally going away. Mary's eyes fluttered open, and she smiled at them with the warmth they'd missed so desperately. Merry Christmas and happy birthday, my beautiful girls. Best birthday ever, Chloe said, snuggling closer. Because you're here. Downstairs, Robert and Mrs. Jenkins had prepared a feast. Fresh cinnamon rolls, hot chocolate with real whipped cream, fruit salad, and bacon crispy just the way the twins liked it. The Christmas tree sparkled with lights, presents arranged beneath it, but the real gift was already unwrapped, their family, together and safe. Before we open presents, Robert said, his voice thick with emotion, I want to say something. This year, we almost lost everything that matters. I was blind, manipulated, foolish. But you too, he looked at the twins, you refused to accept the lie. You trusted your instincts, you fought for the truth, and you saved our family. I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of daughters as remarkable as you. Daddy, Chloe said, you don't have to be worthy of us. You're our dad. We love you because you're you, not because you're perfect. When did you get so wise? Robert asked, pulling her into a hug. We're 8 now, she said seriously. Basically adults. The laughter that followed felt like healing, like pieces of their old life clicking back into place. They opened presents, books for Zoe, art supplies for Chloe, a new journal for Mary to replace the one she'd lost during captivity, a watch for Robert to replace the one Serena had lost and sold. But the most meaningful gift came from Julian Preston, who arrived mid-morning with a manila folder. Merry Christmas, Thompson family. I have news. He spread documents across the dining table. We've recovered 87% of the stolen funds. The offshore accounts have been frozen and assets are being repatriated. It'll take time, but financially, you're going to be okay. That's wonderful, Mary said, but honestly, money was never what mattered most. I know. But there's more. Remember how Detective Wilson was investigating Serena's previous marriages? Julian's expression turned serious. They found 3 more victims beyond the 2 dead husbands. 3 other women who were targeted, manipulated, but escaped before it was too late. They're all willing to testify. How many people did she hurt? Zoe asked quietly. We may never know the full count, Julian admitted. But because you 2 exposed her, we're able to help other victims get justice. The FBI has opened investigations in 7 states. They're calling it Operation Black Widow. The twins exchanged glances. Their mother's rescue had been just the beginning. Serena and Marcus's arrest had pulled the thread on a much larger tapestry of crime. There's something else, Julian continued. The Twin Detectives channel has been getting attention from more than just viewers. Several police departments have reached out, asking if you'd be willing to consult on cases involving children who suspect something wrong in their homes. Obviously, nothing dangerous, and always with adult supervision, but your perspective, the way you see things adults miss, it's valuable. Really? Chloe's eyes lit up. Really? But, Julian looked at Mary and Robert, it's entirely up to your parents whether they're comfortable with that. Mary took a deep breath. 6 months ago, I would have said absolutely not. Children should be protected from the darkness in the world. But my daughters taught me something during my captivity. They taught me that children are stronger, smarter, and braver than we give them credit for. And that sometimes, their voices are the ones that need to be heard most. So that's a yes. Zoe asked hopefully. That's a very cautious, highly supervised, only appropriate cases yes, Robert said. With therapy ongoing for all of us, and the moment it becomes too much, we stop. Deal? Deal, both twins agreed. The rest of Christmas Day passed in a kind of beautiful mundanity they'd once taken for granted. Board games, movie marathons, Mrs. Jenkins's incredible cooking, and the simple joy of being together. No fear, no secrets, no monsters hiding behind polished smiles. That evening, as snow continued to fall outside, Mary gathered the twins in the library, her favorite room, filled with books and memories. I want to tell you something I learned during those 6 months. The twins settled on either side of her on the leather couch that had been there since before they were born. When Marcus would give me moments of clarity, when the drugs wore off enough for me to think, I would focus on one thing, you two. I would remember your faces, your laughs, the way you hold hands when you're scared. And I would tell myself that you were smart enough, strong enough, brave enough to know something was wrong. That you wouldn't just accept what you were told. We knew, Chloe said fiercely. From the first second. I know you did. And that's because I raised you to question, to think critically, to trust your instincts even when authority figures tell you you're wrong. Those are the skills that saved our family. Mary paused, choosing her words carefully. But I need you to understand something. What you did was necessary and brave, but it was also dangerous. You're children. You shouldn't have had to carry that burden. But we did carry it, Zoe said. And we won. You did. But now I need you to promise me something. As you help other people through your channel, through whatever consulting you do with police, you have to remember, you're still children. You deserve to have childhoods, to make mistakes, to not have the weight of the world on your shoulders. Can you promise me you'll try to balance being detectives with being kids? The twins looked at each other, that silent communication only twins truly understood passing between them. We promise, they said together. Later, after the twins had gone to bed, Robert and Mary stood in the master bedroom, the room Serena had tried to claim as her own. Mary had insisted on new everything, new bed, new paint, new curtains. Erasing every trace of the woman who'd nearly destroyed them. Do you think they'll be okay? Robert asked. Really okay? After everything they've been through? I think, Mary said slowly, that they'll never be the same. Trauma changes you, shapes you, marks you forever. But they have each other, they have us, and they have a purpose. That's more than many people get. I still can't believe 2 7-year-olds. 8-year-olds now, Mary corrected with a smile. Right. 8-year-olds. I can't believe they outsmarted a professional con artist and her accomplice. How did we raise such extraordinary humans? We loved them, Mary said simply. We taught them to think, to question, to trust themselves. And when everything fell apart, those lessons were enough. Robert pulled her close, grateful for the 1000th time that day that she was alive, that she was here, that they'd been given a second chance. I love you. I never stopped, even when I couldn't think clearly, even when Serena was poisoning my coffee and my mind. Some part of me always knew you didn't leave us. I know, Mary whispered. And I love you. But Robert, we need to talk about what comes next. Therapy. Lots of therapy. For all of us. Yes, But beyond that, the girls want to keep investigating, keep helping people. We need to set boundaries, keep them safe, make sure this doesn't consume their childhoods. Agreed. We'll work with Julian, with Detective Wilson, establish protocols. Nothing dangerous, nothing that puts them at risk. They stood together in the darkness, listening to the house settle around them, to the sound of their daughters sleeping safely down the hall. Outside, Greenwich slept under its blanket of Christmas snow. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. The legal proceedings would continue for months, maybe years. Recovery, physical, emotional, psychological, would be a long road. The Twin Detectives channel would grow, bringing new responsibilities and new complications. But tonight, they were together. Tonight, they were safe. Tonight, they were a family that had survived the worst and come out stronger. In her room, Chloe whispered to Zoe across the space between their beds, "Do you think we'll always be detectives?" "I think," Zoe whispered back, "that we'll always be sisters who don't give up on people we love. Whether that makes us detectives or just makes us us, does that matter?" "I guess not." "Zoe?" "Yeah. Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas, Chloe. And happy birthday." They fell asleep holding hands across the gap between their beds, two 8-year-old girls who'd fought monsters and won, who'd saved their mother and exposed evil, who'd proven that courage had nothing to do with age and everything to do with love. The story of the Thompson family would continue. There would be setbacks and struggles, victories and challenges. But they'd face it all together, stronger for having been broken and rebuilt. And somewhere in Connecticut, in jail cells far from Greenwich's holiday lights, Serena and Marcus Hayes spent Christmas alone, their plans destroyed by two children they dismissed as inconsequential. Justice, it turned out, came in unexpected packages. And love, when tested, proved to be the strongest force of all. 6 months had passed since that Christmas morning, and summer had transformed Thompson Estate into something that felt almost magical again. Mary's herb garden had been replanted, flourishing under her careful attention. The treehouse had been rebuilt, stronger this time, but keeping the original mural of the Bear family that had hidden their salvation. The Twin Detectives channel had exploded beyond anything they'd imagined. 3 million subscribers now followed Chloe and Zoe as they helped families uncover truth, always with adult supervision, always within safe boundaries. Rebecca from Oregon's mother had been found alive, held captive by her husband for 3 years. That rescue alone had generated national attention. But today wasn't about subscribers or cases or investigations. Today was about closure. Detective Wilson arrived at 10 in the morning, accompanied by a woman in her 50s with graying hair and kind eyes. "Thompson family, this is Agent Patricia Morrison from the FBI. She's been heading up Operation Black Widow." They gathered in the living room, the same room where Serena had once held court, where she'd manipulated and planned and schemed. Now it was filled with afternoon sunlight and family photos Mary had restored to their rightful places. "I wanted to update you in person," Agent Morrison began, settling into the armchair Mary offered. "The investigation into Serena and Marcus Hayes has concluded. We've identified 11 victims across 8 states spanning 15 years. 11. Robert's voice was hollow. 2 murdered husbands, 3 women who escaped before the final phase like Mrs. Thompson, and 6 others who were defrauded but not physically harmed. The pattern was consistent: target wealthy individuals, establish relationships, manipulate finances, then either murder or disappear with assets. Marcus handled the violence, Serena handled the seduction and manipulation. How did they get away with it for so long?" Zoe asked, her notebook open as always. "They were smart. They moved between states, changed their methods slightly each time, never stayed in one place long enough to establish patterns. And they were patient, some cons took years to execute." Agent Morrison looked at the twins with respect. "What you two did, identifying the discrepancies, trusting your instincts, documenting everything, that's what broke the case wide open. Because of you, we were able to connect crimes across multiple jurisdictions. What about the other victims? Mary asked. The ones who survived. They're getting help. Therapy, financial recovery assistance, legal support. Several have reached out wanting to thank you personally. One woman, Janet Richardson from Nevada, said she wishes her children had been as brave as yours. Her teenage son suspected something was wrong but didn't know how to prove it. Mrs. Jenkins brought in tea and cookies, her way of coping with difficult conversations. So what happens now? To those monsters. Serena Hayes pled guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder, multiple counts of fraud, conspiracy, and kidnapping. She received 2 consecutive life sentences without possibility of parole. Marcus Hayes, in exchange for his testimony, received 40 years. He'll be eligible for parole at 68, but given the severity of the crimes, it's unlikely he'll ever walk free. Good, Chloe said firmly. They should never hurt anyone again. They won't, Agent Morrison assured her. But there's more. The investigation revealed something else. Serena had been planning additional targets. Your family wasn't going to be her last. We found a list of potential victims, all wealthy, all recently widowed or divorced, all vulnerable. By stopping her when you did, you saved lives we don't even know about yet. The weight of that settled over the room like snow. The twins had set out simply to find their mother, to save their father. They hadn't realized they were preventing future tragedies. How do you process something like that? Robert asked quietly. Knowing you almost became a statistic, that your wife almost died, that your daughters almost lost both parents. You don't process it alone, Agent Morrison said gently. You lean on each other, on professionals, on time. And you remember that you survived. That's not nothing. After the FBI agent left, the family sat together in contemplative silence. Finally, Mary spoke. I think it's time we talked about what comes next. Really next, beyond the legal proceedings and the channel and all of that. What do you mean? Zoe asked. I mean, how do we move forward as a family? We've been in survival mode for almost a year now, finding me, recovering, dealing with the investigation. But at some point, we need to decide what our new normal looks like. I vote for boring, Chloe said. Really, really boring. No more mysteries. Everyone laughed, but Mary pressed on. The channel is wonderful, and I'm proud of the work you're doing. But I worry. I worry that you're defining yourselves by what happened to us, by the trauma, by being the girls who saved their mom. You're so much more than that. We know, Zoe said thoughtfully. That's why we've been thinking about expanding the channel. Not just solving mysteries, but teaching other kids how to trust their instincts, how to ask for help, how to recognize warning signs. Making it about empowerment, not just investigation. We talked to our therapist about it, Chloe added. Dr. Caroline Wright had been working with the whole family since January, helping them process trauma and rebuild healthy dynamics. She thinks it's healthy, as long as we balance it with regular kid stuff. Speaking of regular kid stuff, Robert interjected, there's something your mother and I have been discussing. We think it might be time for a family vacation. Somewhere completely different, somewhere we can just be together without any cases or investigations or interviews. Where? Both twins asked simultaneously. We were thinking Hawaii, Mary said, smiling at their excited expressions. 2 weeks on Maui. Swimming, snorkeling, learning to surf, eating shave ice, and absolutely zero detective work. That sounds perfect, Zoe breathed. Can Mrs. Jenkins come? Chloe asked. Mrs. Jenkins, who'd been clearing teacups, paused. Oh, I couldn't possibly. You absolutely could, Robert said firmly. Your family, Mrs. Jenkins. You risked everything to help the girls save Mary. You're coming to Hawaii, and that's final. The older woman's eyes filled with tears. Then I suppose I'd better get a new bathing suit. That evening, As the sun set over Greenwich, the twins sat in their rebuilt treehouse with their parents, something they hadn't done since before Mary's kidnapping. The mural of the Bear family had been preserved, a reminder of what had hidden behind it, of the evidence that had saved them all. "Do you ever wish it hadn't happened?" Zoe asked suddenly. "All of it, Serena, the kidnapping, everything we went through." Mary considered the question carefully. "I wish I hadn't lost 6 months with you. I wish you hadn't had to grow up so fast, hadn't had to carry burdens no child should carry. But do I wish we hadn't learned how strong we are? How much we love each other? How we can survive anything as long as we're together? No. I don't wish that away. We changed," Chloe observed. "All of us. We're not the same people we were a year ago." "No," Robert agreed. "We're not. We're stronger. More aware. More grateful for each day we have together. Trauma changes you, but it doesn't have to break you." "Girls," Mary said, pulling them close, "I want you to know something. What you did was extraordinary, but it doesn't define you. You're not just the twin detectives or the girls who saved their mom. You're Chloe, who loves art and horses and makes friends everywhere she goes. And you're Zoe, who reads 3 books a week and asks questions no one else thinks to ask and has the biggest heart. You're my daughters, and you're exactly who you're supposed to be. Even though we're kind of famous now?" Chloe asked. "Especially then. Don't let the attention change who you are at your core. Stay kind, stay curious, stay true to yourselves." Below them, through the treehouse window, they could see the lights of their home glowing warm against the darkening sky. Mrs. Jenkins moved through the kitchen, preparing dinner. The herb garden flourished. The coffee maker Serena had used to drug Robert had been replaced, then smashed with a hammer in a therapeutic family activity Dr. Wright had suggested. Life was moving forward. Julian Preston had become a regular fixture at Sunday dinners, his legal expertise transitioning into genuine friendship. Detective Wilson stopped by occasionally with updates on other cases where the twins' insights had helped. The family had started a foundation, the Mary Thompson Second Chances Fund, to help other victims of domestic manipulation and fraud. "I have an idea," Zoe announced. "For the 1-year anniversary of finding Mom." "What's that?" Mary asked. "A video. But not about the investigation or the rescue. About what came after. About healing, about rebuilding, about how families survive trauma and come out stronger. About hope." "I love that," Robert said. "Show people that the story doesn't end with the rescue. That's just the beginning." "Will you be in it, Mommy?" Chloe asked. "Will you tell your side?" Mary hesitated only a moment before nodding. "Yes. I think it's time. Other women need to know they can survive, that they can come back from even the darkest places. If our story helps even one person, it's worth it." As stars began appearing in the summer sky, the Thompson family climbed down from the treehouse together. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new chapters in their ever-evolving story. The Hawaii trip was booked for August. The foundation was expanding. The channel continued growing, helping more families every week. But tonight was just for them. Dinner around the table where Serena had once plotted their destruction. Board games in the living room where secrets had been kept and truths had been revealed. Bedtime stories in rooms that finally felt safe again. Goodnight hugs that lasted a little longer than necessary, reminders that they were all still there, still together, still whole. In their room that night, with moonlight streaming through windows overlooking the garden their mother had replanted, the twins talked quietly. "Do you think we'll always do this?" Chloe asked. "The detective thing?" "Maybe," Zoe said. "Or maybe we'll discover something else we're passionate about. Maybe we'll be artists or lawyers or teachers or something we haven't even imagined yet. But we'll always be sisters. Always. No matter what." "Zoe?" "Yeah. I'm glad we didn't give up. Even when it was scary, even when no one believed us. I'm glad we kept looking for Mom. Me too. Love is worth fighting for. Family is worth fighting for. They fell asleep holding hands, the way they always had, two 8-year-old girls who'd faced darkness and emerged into light, who'd saved their family and in doing so, had shown the world that courage knows no age limit. Outside, Greenwich slept peacefully. Inside Thompson Estate, a family that had been shattered was now healing, stronger at the broken places, bound together by love that had survived the ultimate test. Serena Hayes would spend the rest of her life in prison, her carefully constructed masks finally stripped away. Marcus Hayes would face his own reckoning behind bars. And 11 families across 8 states were beginning their own journeys toward healing and justice. All because 2 7-year-old twins had refused to believe a lie. All because love had proven stronger than manipulation. All because sometimes, the smallest voices speak the most important truths. The twin detective story was far from over. They would help dozens more families in the years to come, would grow into remarkable young women, would face new challenges and celebrate new victories. But this chapter, the chapter of survival, of rescue, of reunion, had reached its conclusion. And as Mary Thompson stood in the doorway of her daughter's room, watching them sleep peacefully, she whispered the words she repeated like a prayer during those 6 months of captivity, "Love you more than all the stars." This time, she was there to hear them whisper back in their sleep, to the moon and back again. Family. Truth. Justice. Love. In the end, that's what mattered most. And in the Thompson household, surrounded by the people they loved, safe and together and whole, that was more than enough. What did you think of Chloe and Zoe's incredible journey? Have you ever had to trust your instincts when something felt wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more amazing true stories of courage and resilience.
Thank you for watching. Want to show me some love and keep the videos coming? Simple like and subscribe. Ready for the next thrill? Click on the video popping up on your screen right now and enjoy more. See you in the comments.